Welcome to this Advent Light meditation retreat for session 1. For this you're going to need a shoebox of some sort or any other kind of box where you can take the lid off and put it back on. That box is going to represent you, and what you're putting inside will represent both you and the things that are within you. You will also need some little objects or craft materials, whatever you decide to use. Some blue tack you might need, or some adhesive dots. Something to decorate the outside of your box. I'm going to decorate mine with this piece of tissue paper. And you might like things which are shiny to put inside, like kitchen foil or bits of any sort of silver paper that you have around. In addition to that, you will need a torch, and you will need a stabbing implement of some sort. It might be a knife or craft knife or a pen knife, anything that you can make holes in the box with. However you decide to do all of this, it will be right. There's no oughts or shoulds when doing meditations of this kind. Whatever you do, God will honour, because he knows that you have come to be closer to him. So what I've done is, as you can see, I've put a bit of biscuit wrapper on the end. I've lined mine with tin foil. One of the advantages of putting in something like tin foil is that the light will shine and reflect off them when you get to a later part of this meditation. You'll see that I've also decorated the outside of my box. The outside represents me, and the inside represents the things that in my life I'm going to be thinking about during this meditation. So the first thing you've got to do is to make a hole in one end of the box, which is going to be a peephole. So I'm going to ruin a pair of scissors by just making a hole in the middle, which has got big enough to put your eye up to look inside. I expect you made things a bit like this when you were a child, or if you're a parent you'll have done them with your children as well. So that's my peephole, and that's you need to do that one first. Then we're going to do things to the lid. And the lid is to think of the ways in which you consciously try to let the light of Christ into your life. And for each of them, you make a crack in the lid of the box. Choose the size or length or width of the cracks, and thank God for those things. To start off, that you might think of things like retreats like this, because I'm sure that you've come on this retreat either to find out what God has got to show you, or actually thinking you want God to enlighten you. Other things might be talking about God with someone else, or when you worship, when you read the Bible. It might be reading books or poetry written by those who love God, and even those who don't, because some of their poems, the Holy Spirit will show you something which wasn't in there when the author wrote it, but is something that the Holy Spirit can show you. Looking at paintings, rather like we looked at the images in the introductory video for this session. And there will be lots of others for you, but those were just ones to begin with. So take whatever you're going to make the cracks with, and think of the things in turn. So you're going to make these little cracks. Some of the things that you think of may be very important, so you might want to make really big cracks for them, and make sure that they're big enough for light to get through. Some things you may only just be beginning to think about as being part of the way in which you learn to know God. Some things may have been very important all your life. I know for some people, for instance, music is, and it's so important that it will be a really big crack, because so much of their worship goes on through that. It might be going on retreats. I know some people really love to go on retreats and use these as refreshing times to get new light and new information in about God. So do that until you finish that, and do it slowly and meditatively, not quickly like I've done, because obviously I've done it quickly because I'm doing a demonstration. But you do it meditatively. Think, well, how important is worship to you? How important is it to be worshipping with others in order to learn about God? In which case you might want to make a really big one, or it might just be a little hole. How important are people's teaching you? Is that just a little one or a big one? So spend quite a lot of time thinking about that. And then we're going to work on one side of the box, and I'm going to use the left-hand side of my box, and we're going to be thinking about the weaknesses which God has shown me, or you in your life, for helping you to deal with them and blessing you through them. So these will be another set of cracks the light can get through, because that's what we're thinking about today. The cracks are where the light gets in. For me, it was because I grew up in an atheist family, that one of the cracks was that the Holy Spirit taking my unbelief and helping me to use it to come to believe. And that's been quite an important thing. So I would put probably quite a big crack in there for that one. Other things you'll think of, which are the weaknesses which God has shown you in your life. You might, for instance, tend to try to want very controlling, and God may have shown you how to let go, how to not be controlling, how to let go and let God. That might be another crack. And I'm going to put in some other cracks along here for weaknesses. But again, think about how big you want the holes to be, or how small, and in order to express what it is that you're thinking and praying about, and let the Holy Spirit show you those weaknesses in your life that have been used to let light in as God has shown you new things. Again, I've done this very quickly, but when you do it, you'll obviously take more time. There we have a fault. It's not got through the shiny paper, which is interesting. So I might need to go through just making sure that each of those cracks have come through. And on the other side, the third side, we're going to be thinking of the wounds or setbacks or troubles that you've had. These are very particular to you and your life, and are the events which have affected you profoundly. But looking back at them, where you're aware of where God has worked in you through them, and of your faith having grown as a result, thank God for them, and put cracks along the side of the box for each of those too. And just watching you don't stub your fingers. For me, I had a major loss and bereavement in my life, but it has changed me completely as God works in me, so I'm going to put a very big hole for that. You will think of others where something which really happened in your life, which was very important, knocked you back, and which God has helped you to heal. And they're the ones where the comfort that you have been given, you will give to others. The comfort that God has given you, you will give to others. So there will probably be quite a few of those. They may go right back to when you were a child, getting bullied, or whatever it is for you in your life. I'm thinking that actually this tinfoil is not a good idea. So I think I might take it off the sides. So I've taken the silver paper off the sides, and that made me think, what inside me might be stopping the light getting through the cracks? And what inside might there be inside you which is stopping the light from getting through the cracks? So that when you remove the things from the side, what is it that you are removing? Ask the Holy Spirit to show you. Now we come to the next part of this meditation, and that is to think about the objects we're going to put inside this box. Now the first lot of objects will be the ones that represent you in your life which need to be healed and redeemed. You could put them in place with blue tack or adhesive dots if you want, especially if you'd like them to be suspended from the ceiling. And one of the first things I'm going to put in for me is this little elephant. Maybe you can see it, and that I'm putting in because I do tend to forget often to speak first to God before I do things, so I'm putting an elephant in. I'm going to put in heavy lead weight, and those are for the doubts that I get, and so on. You can see how this might be done. I'm just going to put those things in and then I'll come back. There, now I've put in the things inside me which need to be healed. I'm just going to put the last one in, which is this stone, which looks like a broken heart, so I'll put that in. Yeah. Put that in too. One of them I've put in, as you can see, is a little Lego figure. That's because I can spend an awful lot of time playing with things. Now, the next things that you're going to put in are different. They're the things which you could think of that are waiting to be lit up within you. Things which are that the Holy Spirit wants to light up in you, so that it can start to use those gifts, but you may be quite unaware of them. So I'm going to put in this little stone, and this little hair grip. And you notice both of those are shiny, so I've assumed when putting these in that they would, the things that God's going to change in this way are already looking good, but they might not. They might be as dull as this shell, or as old and corroded as this old jack. So I'll just put these in. So I've now finished putting my objects in. Obviously you will take some time about this because it's an important part of this meditation, is thinking about what those things might be that you're putting into your box. So the next thing I have to do is to test whether or not the light is getting into the middle through the cracks that I have put in my box. So I'm just going to turn the light off. And then I'm going to take the torch and try and shine it through the cracks. Now there's a problem, because what I've got wrapped around the side is getting in through some cracks but not through others. What I've wrapped the box in is it's still stopping much of the light getting in. So if that I've put round the outside is representing something that I protect myself with against what God is wanting to do in my life, what might that be? And what might it be in your life? Turn the light on again. So you might like to very carefully start tearing off the covering that you've put on your box, thinking about what is it that you do, or ways in which you're stopping the light getting in from the outside. Is it something that you're addicted to, like playing on the computer, or a way in which you behave? Ask the Holy Spirit to show you what they are. Then you also need to think about the cracks that are in the lid. Now, if you remember, the cracks that are in the lid represent the things that you do in order to let the light of Christ into your life. And are the things which you do which stop that from happening in the way that it could happen? So, for instance, if you go on retreat Do you find yourself spending more time talking to the other people about everyday things than about what you've gone on retreat to do, which is to learn about God? So think about those things as you tear the paper off your box. Then the next thing you need to do, once you've got your paper off your box, is to put the lid on your box. Now you've put your lid on the box, think about all the things that are within it. That whole box is in darkness. Even where you've got tin foil, there is no light. Until you start shining the light through the cracks, there is no light inside. So find a place where you can put the box up at eye level. You might want to sit at a table and place the box on something else so that it's really comfortable at your eye level before you do the next part of this meditation, because it's important that you can sit and look through and think about these things comfortably without straining yourself. So now you've got the box into a comfortable position, the first thing you're going to do is have a look through the peephole and take your torch and think about the cracks that are in the lid. What did they represent? They were the cracks that represented the ways in which you consciously try to get closer to God, the things that you do and the things which you take part in, which you purposefully want God to show you things through. And so take your torch and, looking through the peephole, watch what happens to the things which are within. You have all those things within which are stopping and impeding your growth, and you have the things which you may not even be aware of, which the light of Christ will light up and turn into light. Spend quite a lot of time doing this, and think about, is there one of the cracks which you would like to make bigger, a door you'd like to open wider? For instance, you might be thinking, well, I would like to go onto silent retreats in order to allow God to speak to me more clearly. And so you might like to make one of the cracks a lot bigger, and in order to let more light through. So think about this, and as you do it, pray that God will help you fulfill this thing that you would like to do, to make greater chances for God and the Holy Spirit to speak to you. And then when you finish that, and spend some time, because you've got quite a lot of things in that box to be watching and looking at, then go to the side where you have the weakness cracks, the things which the Holy Spirit is using, within you, surprisingly often to you, your weaknesses. And once again, ask the Holy Spirit to guide your thinking while slowly going up and down with the torch, looking in through all the different cracks. And finally, take the torch to the other side, the wound side, once again asking the Holy Spirit to guide your thinking, and very slowly watch the effect of the light getting through the wounds and lighting up what's within you, that the Holy Spirit wishes to work on. If you've got more than one torch, you can do lots of light in at the same time if you want to. Spend some time on that, and really think it through, and ask the Holy Spirit to show you what the Holy Spirit desires to show you. And then, when you've finished, just hold the box in your hands, give thanks for the light which surrounds you and is within you, and then, whilst you're doing that, you could play the video that there's a link for, and listen to the video whilst you hold the box in your hand, the box which represent you, the cracks which the light of Christ gets into, and the things within you which the light of Christ either heals or lights up for you to become light yourself.